So let's talk about why smart businesses should invest in Riga. And let me start with presenting absolute wonderful panel here. Jānis Ošlejs, Primekss Group, founded in 1997. Primekss Group is world's leading concrete technology company, creators of unique concrete technology, Primekss. Welcome, Jānis. Kaspars Rožkalns, General Director of Investment and Development Agency of Latvia, which is responsible for competitiveness of Latvian companies, facilitate foreign investments, implement tourism development and innovation policies. Welcome, Kaspars. Andris, Bērziņš, Managing Partner at Change Ventures. Change Ventures is a seed stage venture capital fund based in the Baltic states, backing ambitious Baltic funders anywhere in the world. Welcome. And Linda Helmane, Executive Director at Foreign Investment Council in Latvia, is a non-governmental organization that brings together the largest companies from various countries and sectors that have made significant investment in Latvia. Welcome, Linda. I think that modern economy gives really great opportunities for small countries like ours. In the world where you can build smart and scalable products and sell it to the whole world, it doesn't matter where really you are, as long as you have smart people and talents, which we heard throughout many presentations today, and favorable environment. And as it was already mentioned, I come from Wolt, which was just, yes, exactly sold for $8 billion US. The story of Wolt started just 7 years ago in Finland. Finland is also a rather small country, just like ours, maybe a bit bigger, but still small. Wolt has entered 4 years ago into Latvia, and after 7 years, it was sold by $8 billion. Now, to me, this just illustrates what kind of bunch of motivated people with a global vision do, even being in a small country. So let's now go a bit into Riga, and my first question is actually to all of you. Since our topic of discussion is why smart businesses invest in Riga, imagine I'm a potential investor here, and I'm considering of investing in Riga, and you have 60 seconds to convince me that this is the right choice. So whoever is the bravest ones to start and try to convince me in 60 seconds that Riga is a good place for investment.
Because we have entrepreneurs who can build companies that will exit even higher values than Wolt.
Okay, that's great. Yeah.
Right. Well, obviously, Riga has it all. Riga has the talent, so it is the size of the Riga is perfect. It is with the metro maybe coming up close to the 800,000 people, maybe 900,000 people. It has. The universities are here. It has, so academia is here. The government is actually very easy to reach, and therefore the companies, it's easier to be like seen in Riga. So if you enter immediately, it's easy to meet with the minister, the prime minister, and so on. So you can get on the news. So the talent is here. You can be spotted. So that helps to hire a better talent. The taxes are OECD, we are ranked number 2, so it's kind of okay. And if we look at the culture is also here. And if somebody wants to send a country manager from the headquarters, they have to choose where do I want to live. And Riga is actually very livable. It feels like home. And that really helps to market all. The airport, the close connectivity from the airport to the downtown. Overall, the Riga is quite compact, and all the pluses are here. So that's why I would say the smart business is actually starting to see Baltics, and from the Baltics starting to see also the Riga.
I think Riga has a... Sorry.
Okay, I'll just quickly add, I think it's more of repeating what previous speakers said, emphasizing connectivity in a more global scale. So obviously we have, not just geographically, we're the center of the Baltic states, but we've also with Riga and with the airport and then Rail Baltica being developed. Otherwise, it's very easy from Latvia to reach other destinations around Europe and also around the world. So this also makes it easier for investors to develop businesses in Latvia.
I think good life and a good business needs kind of lots of ingredients, kind of well balanced. And that's, I think, what Riga gives, like everybody else said, great pool of talents, very compact area. I would add one more thing. Like to a good life, you need also a little bit of like a country life and things like this. And I think like a wonderful thing about Riga is within 30 minutes, you are in a real countryside, so you can go organic and you can go trekking, you can go camping or beach if you like. And I think that is a fabulous feature of Riga that you don't have in many other metropolitan areas.
Great, thank you. So we have the talent, we have the cultural fit, geographically we're in the right place. There is VIP service from our government for new investors. Well, I'm convinced, even though obviously I'm a bit biased here, but I hope that after this panel discussion, those who are watching us will be convinced to at least consider investing in Riga, and we'll contact Kaspars afterwards and have a chat with him. Kaspars, you are leading investment agency, which is primarily responsible for attracting investment for the last few years. What would you say are the biggest changes in terms of attracting investment in general, and specifically in work that LEA does right now?
Yeah, in 2 years, I would say, what have we done? We changed the strategy. So we focus on attracting the investors, such who will export the services or products. We use the client-oriented approach. It means that we proactively help the investors who are here to boost their investment, to scale it up. We proactively search for very specific investment in smart sectors, in highly scalable sectors, and that was very hard battle because everybody wants to be supported. But then when you have a limited amount of resources, limited amount of the people, you have two choices. Either you support a little bit to everybody and get more or less zero results, or you focus and narrow down like to support the IT sector, GBS sector, and then you have some measurable results that you can show. And this is, I would say, the main battle. Obviously, from this came up the Green Corridor for investment attraction. Therefore, that clearly states what are the country's policies, what are the country's priorities. We are now implementing that into the law, and later on, that will probably be one of the leading guidelines for the investors. Okay, these are investments in that sectors, that's our priority, and they get this red carpet VIP, whatever service that you call, and then that is clear signal that we can tell to the world, hey, Latvia is ready for investment, but not to any investment, specific investment like in these areas would be super supported.
What are those sectors? You already a bit mentioned, but maybe you can explore that.
It's like biomedicine, bioeconomy, ICT sector, GBS, smart energy and mobility, smart city solutions, and with that, smart materials and photonics. So these are the sectors that we are proactively searching in investment. We see the smart minds are working in that area. The future of the, let's say, Green Deal is connected to those sectors. It means a lot of European money will go into those sectors to make us digital, to make us green. And if we boost these niches high enough, we can serve not only Latvia, not only Baltics, but we can serve the world.
Those sectors obviously will need a lot of smart talent, right, as well. Is LEA, do you have any plans on how to improve that situation in terms of bringing more people in the country, talented people from other countries? So what can you tell to investors who are concerned if there is enough talent here?
Well, actually, I use this. I use three things. First of all, this is the green channel for investment that helps to attract talent because that speeds up the processes how to import talent from outside. The second thing that I normally use is my colleague Mr. Ošlejs' quote that's perfect. It's easy. Riga has no problem with the talent if you can pay more above the average and still make a margin. And that is, well, obviously there's no problem with the talent. You have 1 million people that you can choose of, but just be ready to pay more. And then the third thing on the talent, I would say what is coming up is this digital nomad visa. It means that there will be a lot of talent who will live in Riga, work remotely in different areas, and if we will involve them into networking to share the competencies, to share the knowledge, that will definitely be some superb talent that we can attract on a very high level because of this new instrument coming.
Great, thank you, Kaspar. And I'm very happy to see also in terms of investment attraction, which already was mentioned today, is that Riga also has established its investment and tourism agency, previously which mostly focused just on the tourism. So I think this is a great signal to people out there that Riga is becoming more business focused as well. And I hope that there'll be great cooperation with LEA, and with more resources now into that, we'll see good results coming out of that. Linda, your organization represents many prominent investors in Latvia, and I looked on your sentiment index, which said that 44% out of taxes paid are paid by companies with foreign capital. So that clearly states the importance of foreign investors in Latvia, and the need and necessity to look into your sentiment index that you are preparing and doing a great job in that. Out of all the areas which are important to foreign investments, what would you say are the areas where we had the most progress in the last few years, and what are the areas where we're still struggling the most?
I think we're actually carrying out our next sentiment index interviews right now. So I have a very fresh perspective last week, 2 weeks ago, from investors on what are the issues that they're currently facing. I think something that's been talked about today as well, there are a lot of positives, obviously, to the workforce in Latvia, but the main issue that there's just not enough of workforce. And it doesn't, of course, it's great that we have highly educated and highly skilled people. However, something that investors are talking more and more about is just that there's not enough in numbers. So we saw it before COVID. Obviously, COVID also changed the situation a little bit, but we saw it before COVID that there was even a feeling that lack of availability of workforce is actually starting to sort of stagnate investment growth in Latvia. COVID rectified the situation a little bit just because of the circumstances surrounding it, but I think this also goes into the positives that a lot of investors are saying, and this goes very well with what Mr. Rožkalns was saying about LEA's activities. Investors highly appreciate LEA's activities over the last 2 years and their focus on the issues that are actually hindering investment growth, and actively working together with investors to solve these issues and bring about results and increase investment. So that is a positive that we can definitely mention. And as Mr. Rožkalns mentioned, one of the positives of having an open discussion with the government, with the Riga City Council, with LEA, and with other ministries, this is something that is appreciated, and it does bring results. Obviously, there's always good and bad case studies that you can have a look at, but I think overall, this is definitely something that we hear over and over again. I think, we always ask this question: how do you evaluate the cooperation with the public sector over the last few years? And since Mr. Rožkalns took the lead at LEA, I think for the last 2 years, investors have been repeating that they actually appreciate the cooperation with the organization. So I think that should be mentioned and emphasized more so, because that's not the case in every country.
Yes, and I think that's a great comment. I remember a few years ago, I had a talk with a manager of a company who've been attracted to Latvia. It's a GPS company. It employs now hundreds of people here, and she was telling about her story, how she ended up in Latvia, because they were in other European countries before, and when they entered that country, they said they were like thrown over with European money, but basically all the support was financial support, and once you withdraw the money, once the support has ended, there was no incentive to stay. There was nothing else actually besides the funds which supported their existence there. And she said that when they entered Latvia, what was great is the support and the attitude you get from government officials who are responsible for attracting investment. And sometimes that is more useful than actually just throwing out the money at investors and funds. great to see that there is progress and the FISTL is making sentiment index. I think this is a great input for our government officials to look into, understand really what investors are looking to be improved. And speaking about different indexes, I looked on one of the index which is called, excuse me, it was called Index Ventures. I'm very sorry. Yes, and the headline caught my attention straight away because it called Latvia as the most startup-friendly country in Europe. And Andris, this is obviously a question to you. Yes, given your track record of investing and also helping the startup community, obviously this result is of your and your team's job in Latvia. But what does it actually practically mean being on top of that rank? What can we expect? More startups in Riga, more unicorns, more exits of $8 billion also in Latvia? What does it mean for us?
So I love that headline, by the way, of course. The actual sort of practical reality underneath it relates to something that is also a small country advantage, is the ability to make a political change relatively rapidly and gather people around, achieving a very specific aim in a relatively short period of time. So it's thanks to Reinis Notiņš, a parliamentary deputy who led the effort to change the way stock options are taxed and regulated here in Latvia. And so the specific result is that as Index Ventures, this particular index that they're looking at all of the stock option regulation for startup employee stock options across the planet, and we're number one. So we're ahead of USA, we're ahead of Israel, we're ahead of the UK, ahead of any of the other Baltic states in terms of the way that this regulation is structured. And what that means is that some of the companies that are here building startups, trying to attract talent, senior talent into Latvia, because not all the talent we want is available here, that we need to attract senior talent, especially with a lot of experience, so they know that they can get stock options which are tax treated in an attractive way for them, right? So that's a tangible recruiting benefit for these companies. And Printify, for example, where we're an investor, has been quite actively promoting this employee stock options concept, because it is not as well known in this region as it is, say, in Silicon Valley. So I think the important thing is that this is a region, if you look at the Baltic states in general, we're an investor at Change Ventures across all the Baltic states, and this region is quite unique in Europe. So I compare it to Israel. So we're small, exporting nations where things can happen quickly, and we have a global mindset. And so this is very, very attractive for investors, and it's very attractive for talent that is looking to participate in the next Wolts, the next TransferWises, the next Printfuls, Printifys, and Vinted, and all these companies that will grow very rapidly. So I think that's a great base on which to build more companies, and something that will attract that talent here.
Yes, and definitely brings a lot of opportunities for also local people to earn, actually, because I know when the deal was announced with Wolt, we had quite a number of calls from media in many countries asking, so how many new millionaires will be out there with this deal?
And I think this is a really important point, because in our ecosystem, in startups, what generates the best new startups is typically people who have worked in a company that has scaled massively globally, and that learning and that capital they gain from that sale allows them to start new companies which have a much higher chance of success. So you can attribute all of Estonia's success to Skype because of the people that work there, earn capital there, and you can literally see the lineage through the next successes. And the same thing will happen here. And so that small stock option regulation change is one of the catalysts that will help that happen.
I also, after this rank, I was just, I'm as a skeptical Latvian, I'm always, when you see something very good, extremely good about Latvia, you're getting skeptical, is it true? So I Googled some other ranks in terms of startups, different ones, yes, and the lists were quite different everywhere. But what would you say if you would be a magician and you can do one thing for the startup community right now? so we could expect even more unicorns in the next 5 years in Riga. What would that be?
I would do two things because I'm an entrepreneur. I always want more. So one, we would set up a startup house in Latvia where we could concentrate these startups into a single territory. So those starting are mixing with those who already are further along, and I think that will help the growth of this ecosystem. The second is smart immigration. So we need more talent, and so still the companies that are really scaling big, and they need to hire a VP and C-level talent from other countries and bring them into here, which has huge benefits in terms of training the next generation. It's still too hard for them to do that, and so there are things we need to do to make that easier.
And just to challenge a bit our panelists are here, so Kaspars mentioned about the digital nomad visa plans. Do you think that's enough initiative, or should we do more?
So that's a different initiative, right? So digital nomads are generally, self-employed people who are, liking to live somewhere and want to, I don't know, blog, do online art or whatever they're doing. This is different from, Printify scaling. They already have 500 people here. They want to hire hundreds more, but some of the senior people they need to bring in from around the world, and they need that process to be fast, efficient, and easy because it's a war for talent out there, right? So they're competing with, companies in London, Berlin, Silicon Valley for this talent, and if they have to, do a 3-month process or even a 2-week process sometimes to get them the permission to immigrate here, that can kill your hiring.
Yeah,
digital nomad visa will probably create new small-scale startups because that's, I believe, that's something that the average salary should be 2,800 euros to achieve the visa. So it's not something that you can just way below the average in Latvia. It should be double the average that is currently now. And that will probably create a small scale startup, but definitely I can agree on we have to try to improve the process, how to get the VP and C-level people faster in, and we have to figure out what would be the right way, how to use this green channel for investment, how to maybe broaden that a little bit, maybe introduce some kind of startup line into that under the ICT, that we see that yes, this is if the company applies this criteria, they're big enough, they can recruit, and that means the government needs to move fast. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's getting pretty clear to everyone that talent is the key here, and I guess there are two levels of this problem. There is the political kind of level and the political will to bring more people in the country, but also since my past experience working in NGO, there is a lot of challenges also operationally, because one thing is what do you have in the law right now, the second is how that is implemented by practically in real life, and there is some opportunities to improve that process as well. Jānis, you're the only one practical businessman in this panel who actually have built his own business in Latvia. Just for the sense of reality check with all of us, what do you think are the biggest opportunities in terms of development, in terms of attracting investment to Latvia?
I think there are really no limits to attracting investment in Latvia, and also not real limits to possibilities that are in Latvia. I think that, and I have experienced myself, that in Latvia there's a kind of a great place to be, and I think sometimes, what does it mean to kind of create a good business? I think it's something like how to create a kind of a good life, and it has to have all kind of good ingredients, a little bit of culture, something for kids, something for myself, something to eat good, and entertainment. And Latvia has kind of all of these kind of ingredients, or Riga. Same for good business. So you need some good accountants, you need good logistics specialists, you need good IT guys, and you need them in a kind of a good environment altogether. So I think that kind of making a good company is a bit of like making a good soup. So you kind of put lots of things in there, and you need maybe a meat or maybe a tofu if you're a vegetarian, but then also potatoes, pepper, salt, and then everything kind of mixed and cooked in the right way. And I think Riga, to me, is a kind of like a saucepan, you know, where you cook everything together. And then the question, how to do it in a better way, because I think we have all of the ingredients already. They are all here. We need some foreign spices, like a senior talent, and I think that a very easy way how to do that would be simply follow the example of the Nomad visa and set a wage level above which it's like super easy to import people, because if you pay somebody, let's say 3,000-4,000 euro, it's clear that it's a senior person, and there's not going to be lots of them. And so it's a talent, it's easy, and it's one criteria, just goes through. It's actually same like in Israel. We work in Israel a lot, and we are sending also Latvian workers over to Israel. Israel has exactly the same legislation. So you have to have, I forgot 2 or 3 times the Israeli average wage, and then you get a visa quite automatically. So I think it's a great approach, very simple, practical, and we simply should implement it. And then, you know, kind of thinking about Riga and a kind of a good soup, I think we are maybe a little bit too much concentrated on Riga itself, and we should think about Riga as also incorporating, you know, Cēsis, Limbaži, Valmiera. I just came back from Dubai. I was chatting with a local, and he was saying, yeah, I'm working in a center. You know, it takes me 1.5 hours from my suburb to drive to the center of Dubai. It's one city. I mean, 1.5 hours brings you to like Valmiera. And that's a reality, I mean, in so many cities in the world. And I think that we should look really at a wider ecosystem. And I think that's a great advantage of Riga, because if you want to live like a country life, you can. And still, you know, you can work in Riga in a really great way. So for me, you know, I've been very happy to work here and scale from here. I think it's a great place to be.
Great, thank you. I think that's an interesting topic of developing also the cities around Riga, and I think with the reality of COVID and distance work being more accepted around the companies, it gives a lot of opportunities for even smaller towns out there. And I think Cēsis is a good example in that sense, because we see quite a few companies actually opening the offices there. So it really gives opportunities not only to Riga. Thank you all for your answers. I mean, I guess the discussion about why smart businesses should invest in Riga with such a great panel here could go for hours and hours, but unfortunately we have no time left. But my last question will be actually to our viewers out there. You probably will see on the screen the details of how to join the Slido.com. So have you considered starting a company or investing in an enterprise based in Riga? 3 choices: yes, I have already done that, planning to do that, or no, I haven't considered it yet. Let's see what people will say. So far, everyone is either done that or planning to do that. That's great. Okay, we have 1 no, I think. So, great. I hope this discussion has actually, let's put it this way. So, those who already done that, great. I hope you can be the ambassadors for other potential investors, as we saw all the presentations today here with people who already invested in Latvia and who can be ambassadors for future investors. Those who haven't considered yet or just planning to do that, remember, Kaspars, yes? Can everyone again show his face, please, on the video, so everyone knows how he looks? Or Riga Investment Agency, whoever. So please contact them. And I'm sure if this panel haven't convinced you yet, then Kaspars and people from Riga City Council will.